recognize the performance I've done in the last 2 years since they put me in the office. 2 years ago, it was kind of a difficult time for the district attorney's office, a lot of turmoil and stuff, but I was able to go in there and settle things down and try to keep people on a steady pace, and basically take politics out of the office and get back to the work of putting criminals away.
There was something that came out on Channel 6 a few days ago where they interviewed you, where you're having a little trouble getting some DNA from the crime lab. How can we improve that so the victims can get justice?
It's been a problem for getting both drugs tested and DNA. The way we can improve that is by getting the state to fund fully these labs they have. DNA is so commonplace in criminal cases. When I first started 25 years ago, it was very much an exception. Now it's pretty much the rule, and we need more money into the labs to get the people to be able to do the testing. For a long time, Corpus Christi Lab only had one person do DNA testing. Now they have 3 or 4, but they have plenty of work to do.
Have you had a chance to talk to your competitor, James Sells, tonight? You guys worked together for a while here at the DA's office.
Sure, I have not seen him tonight, no.
What would you want to convey to the voters here in Nueces County as they elect you, in another yet, tough race?
Well, I want to thank all the voters because, number one, they are the ones that make the difference. And it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, or Independent. They want somebody that can do the job and has the experience and qualification to do that. And I think I've shown that, and they validated it by putting me back in office again.
I asked Mark Scott a few minutes ago, how does he see the city in Corpus Christi in the next 10 years? What improvements would you like to see the DA's office?
I would like to see a bigger staff. We only have 2 investigators for the whole staff. We had 2 investigators for many years. Our office has grown and we need more investigators. We also need some more help in the area of domestic violence. We have a terrible problem in Nueces County with domestic violence. The police departments try to do a good job. The DA's office try to do a good job. The courts try to do a good job, but it's just awful hard sometimes to break that cycle of violence with these poor women. I started a program a few years ago called Domestic Violence 101 where we try to get them help from the women's shelter and get them educated and give them services they can do that. But still much more needs to be done.
Gang violence?
Gang violence, it continues to be a problem. I've got some really hotshot attorneys that do our gang cases. They're really up to speed on that. They work very closely with the gang unit at the police department, and those guys just know how to get after it in the courtroom. And that's what we want. We want lawyers who are just to be able to go in the courtroom and win those important cases. I wish there was an easy answer to things like graffiti and gang violence. There's just not that easy an answer, except for we get the community together, get people like the crime district that helps out, the Citizens Police Academy that helps out, and get our citizens to come out and step forward and do their best against crime.
Are criminals getting tougher?
Man, it's hard to say that. I look at all my cases now, and I kind of divide them into the really bad guys I need to get off the street, and then maybe the young people or the people made a dumb mistake early on. And we've set up a pretrial diversion program for those people. Since I took office, I set up a way for these young kids who have a minor offense against them, a misdemeanor offense, get their slate wiped clean if they complete this special pretrial diversion program. It's a wonderful opportunity for first-time offenders to try to get rehabilitated and not have this stand against their record in the future. However, on the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, you got some bad guys that don't need to be on the street. You might have seen the other day that a young man named Daniel Lopez, his decision was upheld on the case where he ran over Lieutenant Stuart Alexander and killed him. He had the most severe punishment, and there's some bad guys. He had a very bad history for a young man, and there's some bad people you need to get off the street to protect your family and my family in this community. And that's what you need to experience like me, that I can go in there and make those tough calls on those cases.
And we're back with South Texas Crossfire with none other than the crime fighter himself, Mark Scurka. How are you doing out there?
Doing good, Joe.
I see your forces are here with you.
I've got my wonderful family, my wife, my mom, my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, my brother. Who else did I leave out? All the family's been backing me, helping us with everything.
Now, I know you're really humble, but are you surprised with the numbers? I mean, you've got the name ID and bipartisan support. Mr. Sales, with all due respect to him, did a great campaign, but the numbers are self-evident. Looks like about what we expected.
Well, you never know what to expect, Joe, but my family and myself and my supporters worked very hard during this thing. I think people are recognizing what they recognized 2 years ago. They want people who can do the job, and I've shown that I've done the job in the past. I've shown it for the last 2 years, and I think that appeals to everybody across the borders.
Well, and we're really happy for you, very excited. Mark Skirka, your district attorney here in Nueces County, yet another 4 years fighting crime, keeping our city streets safe. Round of applause for Mark Skirka and his support team.
Thank you.
Republicans. But in the general election from now on, we need to pick the best individual, regardless of party affiliation. You know what happens when we don't do that, Carlos? We're insulting those young men and women that dies in these wars. For them, let's vote the best individual.
Okay. Another way that I think that Todd Hunter was mentioning was the Senate race, because that was a big surprise here in Nueces County. You know, because very much so, yeah.
What are the other counties going to do?
Okay, I can tell you that in the Valley, Senator Hinojosa took the early vote by 70%. So in the Valley, he's dead. He took it by 70%. Here in the early voting, and again, Republican dominated, it's taken off. But we still have the precincts to vote. And like you said, we had a lot of people in line, especially in our Democratic precincts, that were in line real late. So that's why we haven't seen the early the results come in with the precincts so far.
Why is the race for District Judge 214 with Jose Longoria and Pulcher so close? How can that be? 50.40% for a presiding judge with a Republican at 49.60%. And when you saw TV ads after TV ads for Jose Longoria, and you didn't even see anything about Pulcher at all.
And you know, again, the grassroots work. And you know, the CCPOA has a lot to do with the grassroots work. And they did not endorse Judge Longoria. Although a lot of us are endorsing him, and a lot of us are still hoping that he pulls through, because I believe he's one of the best judges we have. You still have to look at the grassroots movement.
You know, what's puzzling is that the lawyers and the doctors were supporting Jose Longoria and Nanette Hesed, and yet Nanette Hesed is ahead and Jose Longoria is close. So you just wondered what's happening, because both of them were being endorsed by the doctors and the attorneys.
But it looks like we have an update information that we're getting. It's still updating. This is some latest numbers that we're getting. And we'd like to welcome our La Isla listeners who are listening to us on 93.5 and Magic 104.9 up in the Robson and Annabelle area as well, and all over throughout South Texas. When Todd Hunter said there was no numbers yet for J.M. Lozano, right?
No,
not at all, right? Okay.
Which is the same, I would say the same with Vela. You know, Filimon Vela, which is a native son from here. He's in a hot race, and we haven't had any numbers from him either.
I'm trying to shake the her iPad so I better see if it can go a little faster.
It's refresh.
It's doing it, except I think everybody's refreshing at the same time. Is that what it is? Yeah. We're live on the radio. If you're tuning in, you're watching us on KTMB TV. You're seeing the numbers scroll all over on KTMB, Time Warner Cable 6, and, of course, also on Magic 104. This is going to be interesting, but we're starting to see some of the numbers already come in, and let's see how things are starting to shape up here in Nueces County.
Yeah, well, we would be doing a little bit better. You promised to get me and Abel Alonso an iPad last time. What happened?
We're
working on it.
I didn't hear you. What did you say? No.
Hey, the other thing I want to say at this time is also thank Tony Mendoza at the studio and Charlie Annalise for keeping us on the air. And this is a team effort by everybody from Magic 104.9 and 93.5. And also, Rini was here a while ago, but I think he left. But thanks to the family of Magic.
Okay, let's look at some of the numbers. These are some of the numbers updated with early voting, and also some of the numbers that are coming in today. For U.S. District 27 in Nueces County, Blake Farenthold with 53% to Rose Mesa Harrison's 44%. We're going to go to Ted Cruz and Sadler. Ted Cruz with 54%. We're going to scroll down and see if we can find another race that's of interest here for the folks here. Give us just 1 second. Let's see, Vicente. Ruben Cortez, 45% to Turner, Republican at 52%. Raul Torres at 50.12%. Juan Chu Hinojosa 49.88%. That's in Nueces County. There's several counties involved. Connie Scott and Abe Herrero. 54% for Abe Herrero to Connie Scott's 45.72%. Tom Greenwell and Nora Longoria in Nueces County. Greenwell leading 51 to 48%. And for 13 Court of Appeals, the Republican candidate is 48% to Nelda Rodriguez, 51%. In the race for the 13 Court of Appeals, Gina Benavides with 48% to Doug Norman, 51%. Doug Mann with 45% against Nanette Hass's 54%, 0.87. Jose Longoria, 50.75% to Jack Pulcher's 49.25. I think there was a slight bump, or is it too close to call? I mean, or do we see any difference on that one?
Well, it depends on the number of boxes that are being counted or the precinct.
Missy Mederi with 59.53%, Renee Flores 40.47%, James Sells 45% to Mark Skirka 54%, and we want to thank him for being on Crossfire, correct? David Stitt and Deanne Galvan 53% for Judge David Stiff against Deanne Galvan. Let me tell you something a little bit about that race. I think when Miss Michelle Villarreal Cooke got so close to beating Deanne Galvan, I think the Republicans saw, whoa, we can beat her. Yeah, we run it with lots of money, and we do the right things. She can be beaten. And at this point, with some of the numbers coming in and the early voting, he's holding on to that lead pretty strong. Is that surprising to anybody at all?
No. You know, also what has happened here, that all these people, the Republicans, went to Joe FLores' show, came to all the shows for Magic, had advertising with Magic. They catered to the Hispanic community. They didn't take it for granted. Unfortunately, the Democratic Hispanics took us for granted again. How many shows did they sponsor you? How many, you know, I mean, I'm just saying the truth. But they go somewhere else, and they don't care how much money they pay. But you go to Magic, they want it free. The Republicans don't do that. They pay what you ask them to pay.
Absolutely, that's a true statement, and you're absolutely correct. And some of for some of the Democrats, they have advertised, and they're very grateful to them as well. But you know, a lot of the Republicans have been they've outspent them, and they've been even more active as well.
But you know, it also shows you something else, Carlos. People are tuning into 104.9 and 93.5. They are watching television. They are going to ours. And it's not Democrats that are doing it just now. We hear a lot from the Republican people that watch it. So we have a crossover of all people. It's not being ignored. We're becoming a powerful force to be reckoned with. And people need to understand that Magic is one of the grassroots places where they need to start looking at.
You know, we want to thank Ruben Bonilla, our sponsor. Thank you, Ruben Bonilla. He's one of the main sponsors for promoting and bringing this 881-1000. Thank you, Ruben, y toda la familia Bonilla. In the Kishnik Garcia race, Kishnik holding on to 43%. Kishnik's going to win. Pusley's going to beat Torres. Kalen's going to beat Valencia tonight. Not a tsunami, right? And I told Joseph Ramirez a few minutes ago when he was here, I said, Joseph, I'm sure when you were walking up, you were hoping that it wasn't going to be a Katrina, correct, a Category 5, but it was a tropical storm. we had some beach erosion, but not too many casualties. You like that, Joe?
The last one, I think it was not only went flat.
Yes, it's not running anymore. All the wheels fell off. But it looks like Joseph put some air on the tires and put some gas in the vehicle, and we're moving forward. He fixed the flat, right? So congratulations to my compadre Joseph Ramirez para los Disco Freddy.
Have you been arrested or are potentially facing criminal charges? You need a trial attorney who is well-versed in the courtroom. Joe FLores has handled hundreds of criminal cases and many of them to trial. Joe FLores can provide you with competent representation to protect your constitutional rights in state and federal court. Joe FLores can help if you have been arrested or facing criminal charges. The law offices of Joe FLores. Equal justice for all. Call River City Hospice for your loved one's care today. River City Hospice is a compassionate, patient-centered healthcare provider with a unique approach to medical care and support for people at the end of life and their families. River City Hospice focuses on maintaining dignity, increasing quality of life, and providing comfort and reducing pain due to illness. Hospice care allows your loved one to be treated with dignity and respect and gives them the right to choose. Call 882-5900 today. Hope, dignity, and love. It's got to be River City Hospice.
And welcome back. We're back after a brief break here at South Texas Crossfire Election Night. This is going to be playing until the swearing in January. And I've got a young lady here who is on a mission to get involved in politics and get all these other young people involved. Welcome. Could you state your name for the record?
I'm Jamie Contreras, and it's a pleasure being here. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, Jenny, tell me about your passion for media, politics. At such a young age, we hear so much about young people not wanting to get involved or that politics is boring. Why it motivates you to get involved in politics?
You know, we have the power to take the reins in our hands and make that change, and we ourselves have that power right now. And if you don't take that chance, you know, you're not going to get anywhere and you're not going to make that change. So you'd be surprised how many young people are actually getting involved in Facebook and Twitter and so on and so on. And that's a lot of our technology now that we have, and even older generations as well. They are getting very, very involved, and there's so many opportunities for everybody to go out there and vote, not only if you're young in the older generation as well. If you're disabled, you know, you have your ways of getting out there and making your vote happen. So I know that I believe it's required by law that the judge has to bring you out the ballot.
Exactly.
So if you send someone in there.
Well, and I also understand you've got a passion for helping the disabled, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my father is handicapped. He was actually the victim of a school shooting when he was 15 years old. So he has brought me up, you know, learning a lot about disabilities and making sure that I can make that change, and just keeping me very active in the community, not only with the disabilities, but everything else as well. And
what do you see about election night tonight? How do you see things? Are you surprised with some of the results that are coming in? We know it's a nail biter right now with the nationals, but here locally, what have you seen that has surprised you? What one race has said, given you pause and said, wait a minute, I didn't see that coming?
You know, this is not my first time voting, but this is my first time being immersed at the courthouse, to be honest with you. It's a completely different world out here.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
It's very busy, and I'm really grateful for all those who voted, and we're still waiting on some of the polls to come in as well. So.
Well, and you know, Abel Herrero, you know, you had mentioned off the break there, Abel Herrero, Connie Scott, she put a lot of dollars on the ground. The Republican strength is coming in, but Abel's still pulling away, and he probably spent 1/10 of what she put down there. Does that surprise you that Abel got so much broad-based support?
It really doesn't. I mean, everybody puts in a great deal to all their campaigns, so I mean, I'm sure it's overwhelming to see all the support that's coming in from everybody. So. And
those officials, you know, you are speaking for the young people out there. What do you expect from your leaders that are going to be coming in? What sort of policy changes here locally on a local level? As Tip O'Neill said, all politics is local. What would you expect from your leaders, from the state rep down to the city councilman? What do you ask them as a young voter?
I just ask to see better change. I mean, Corpus Christi is a great place as it is, but I would just look for a better change in making the city even greater than it already is, and of course, better streets. So. Well,
you know, well said, and Ms. Contreras is going to be coming on with us some more, and hopefully we have you on South Texas Crossfire here pretty quick.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we'll be back after these messages. Hi, this is attorney and board-certified nurse practitioner Joe FLores on behalf of Vasquez Flores Home Health. Nursing homes have their place, but having care in your own home is very important. Call today for more information. Backed by over 20 years of experience, registered nurse Priscilla Vasquez can answer your questions about home care. Call 881-9922. That's 881-9922 today.
Have you been arrested or are potentially facing criminal charges? You need a trial attorney who is well-versed in the courtroom. Joe FLores has handled hundreds of criminal cases and many of them to trial. Joe FLores can provide you with competent representation to protect your constitutional rights in state and federal court. Joe FLores can help if you have been arrested or facing criminal charges. The law offices of Joe FLores, equal justice for all.